Hey everybody, it's James here and welcome back. This week I decided to do stage 3 of the Flat is Fast series. So that's on the London Flat. I think we're going to do 2 laps here. And as you can see here, it's not flat at all. We do a portion of the box hill and then there are a couple of pinch points that are really steep that could become important. Or at least they're moments that I'm going to be watching out for and probably die on. Because, and as we get going here, because this is a new racing category, we've got 450 to 570. This is kind of like a mix of the high end of Cat C and the low end of Cat B. So I'm really interested to see how that feels and how the field shakes out. We've got 75 guys here all together. We're gonna pack up pretty easily in the beginning. It didn't feel like we were pushing too hard. And yeah, this is my first time racing in a higher category against some higher ranked riders. So I'm kind of nervous to see how that plays out on the climbs and the overall pace. Although with the drafting, and I think I am starting to get the hang of this drafting thing. I think we'll see in this race that I handle that pretty well. What I do not handle well is the end, but we'll get to that soon. For anybody that hasn't already liked and subscribed to the channel and the videos, please feel free and please do. It really helps motivate me to do well in the races, continue making these videos. I really enjoy it, and I hope you do too. I appreciate you guys. Back to the race, man. So I was actually feeling pretty good in this race, which surprised me because 2 days before I did a heavy threshold session, and then the day before I did leg day at the gym. So I was kind of nervous of getting into this race. I was nervous that I wasn't going to have any legs. I wasn't going to have a lot of stamina. I felt like my cardio was going to be all right, but I had, I don't know, this inkling that my legs were just going to freeze up on this climb, for instance, which the Zwift graphic was doing some weird things. The climb graphic in the middle there. We turn the corner and it starts showing like the full climb. I'm like, oh no, am I in for like 5 minutes of climbing right now? Then it gets all small. To my relief, and everybody's kind of staying together. It didn't really like shoot off any major watts per kilo on this, which was cool. I think it's because we're doing 2 laps, and so a lot of times I'm noticing that the first lap is never as difficult as the second lap. But then there you go. We almost got to the end, and then the graphic just extended, and it's like, no, you will climb more. So I stood up and I gave it some more watts. I'm hoping to really like push through the summit of this to make sure that I'm with the front group, because I can already see there are people falling off the back. We're super strung out. And I have no idea how strong these guys are because I've never really raced in a category that goes this high. You can see that guy S Hours all the way up front there. Not to call you out, bro. But anyway, I had seen on Zwift Power before that he was a really strong rider. And as you'll see later, he comes into the race tactics, starts throwing some attacks, and really affecting the race. So anyway, we'll watch out for S Hours. I'm going to call him Seb. But it's clear that there are some strong riders, Seb included, up at the front, and so I'm just trying to conserve. We get over the top of this climb, and we just want to make sure that we get into at least a group together up front, so I can try and draft and recover as much as possible. I've kind of stopped stressing when we get over the top of these climbs, because I do feel like by the time you get to a little bit of a descent, you don't have to keep giving huge amounts of watts before things bunch up again, because naturally things just start to bunch up, as long as it's not really a moment when you might throw an attack or things might split up. Okay, so now we're all back together again and zip zooming along. I'm going to jump forward to the next pinch point, which is in the metro, not too far from here. And I find it pretty interesting because as you see here, I'm like mid-pack and I'm giving it threshold as we round the corner. And then when we really get to the percentages, I lift off and I start giving it a lot more. And I'm kind of unable to advance and I'm not drifting back at least, but I'm not able to really kind of see the impact of my power. As I'm doing like 7 or 8 watts per kilo on that thing. And I would have liked to be further ahead as things are strung out again. Feels like people are pushing for a reduced group limit. They're almost like throwing attacks. But yeah, always looking for the best way to kind of conserve watts, put them in the right place, so that I can do as little as work as possible and keep the best position throughout the race, to make myself available for anything that might happen. Like on this next little bump, not stressing. I let everybody just kind of roll forward, knowing that it's not long. So I'll definitely get back in contact with them. Um, Even though it is always a little bit stressful to see like 30 guys in front of you start cycling faster. And you're like, oh no, I'm going to lose them. But that's not really what happens. And then we get our first attack. We're still on lap one. We see a guy in orange rolling off the front there, Newman. And I'm not quite sure what to make of this. I'm not sure if he's just doing higher power than he should be doing, and everybody else is trying to recover from a little bit of a tiring moment in the route, or if he's really going for it and expects to be doing 15 and a half kilometers on his own up front, or maybe he has teammates. I don't exactly know what he's thinking, but of course that starts to get my mind running. And making me more and more aware that this might be a race, unlike the other races that I've done that just kind of wind up in a sprint pretty simply and easily, which gets me a little excited because love a good sprint, and I'm still perfecting it, as some of you may have seen. So I'm trying to get better at that, but it's kind of fun to be in a race with a little bit more tactics. And so maybe that's what this whole flat is fast is all about, is that it is fast and it is mostly flat. But the fact that we're able to tire some people out on the climbs and keep a high pace means that it leaves the door open for some guys like Newman to throw some attacks, or ours, as you'll see later, to keep the race, just a little bit spicier and more interesting. Of course, Newman gets caught, but good on you for trying. Here we're coming into the last kilometer of the first lap. So we're back in the punch. I'm trying to recover. I'm staying zone 2, which is kind of surprising. Normally it's a little bit more hectic, and I'm having to do a higher zone 3 outside of the climbs. So I'm pretty happy with this effort that I'm having to put in to stick with this race. It gives me some hope that I'll be able to do some decent things. I'm doing a little recon right here. We're coming into the sprint finish of the first lap, but I'm just trying to make sure I get my surroundings and I understand how things are going to go the next time around. Generally, I think I'm having to do less watts because I really am drafting better and better with each and every race as we head into the metro here. And so yeah, just the ability to be in zone 2 rather than zone 3 has had a huge impact on how I feel and the amount of energy that I'm conserving for these little punches on these climbs. And when I do end up front in front of the peloton, I just let completely off. And sometimes I hang there because nobody else is willing to do more, which is cool. Let's all just slow down a little bit. And then sometimes they just come around me and I know that the draft is going to pick me back up again. And I don't have to do a huge surge in power either, in this fear that everybody's rolling way too fast around me and I'm going to get dropped. There I went chatting through the whole climb. But again, it wasn't like the hardest effort I've experienced in these Zwift races. We have a slightly more reduced group. I'm doing like very little watts, just trying to recover. And I think everyone's kind of doing the same. I could see on the mini map that there was a break. And so I was kind of hoping that people would be doing a better effort here. We could try and keep that gap open, but they close it up, which good on them. Happy to have you. We got another little pinch here. And I think we're down to like 40 riders or something. I can't quite remember. Zwift doesn't really show you what the groups look like, which I find unfortunate. Like you just have no idea how many people are riding with you. Obviously, there are 75 people still in the race on the route, but there aren't 75 people in this peloton with us. And so Sauce for Zwift, which is giving me those draft numbers next to the power-ups. Sauce for Zwift also has a cool setup where you can see how big the group is and what the distances are. But anyway, back to this pinch. I saw someone on YouTube recommend that you do heavy watts before you even start the climb, to give you that momentum and to keep your speed up, and that is far more efficient and just better than hitting the climb, getting onto the steep bit, and then raising your watts. So I'm going to note that and try and keep that in mind for the next times I do races with these little 15% kickers, because it's frustrating to be kind of ahead or mid pack and then be doing a ton of watts and it not be enough, to have to catch up at the end. maybe there'll be an attack or a breakaway or something like that, and it would be a shame to drop the group or have to put in a longer effort after the climb's done just to get back in contact. So now that we've gotten through the metro and we're turning to the right here, most of the hard work is done on the parkour on the route. So I'm just trying to recover. This entire race, I've been feeling really good. All my training's been paying off. I'm not as exhausted as I expected to be after this week of training. So I'm feeling really good. And so, I don't know, the competitive nature in me wants to win now or make a really good result. So the stress sets in and I really start paying attention to what's happening. I see S hours up front again and again. And I know that there are other tough riders in the group here. And if I'm thinking that this was kind of quote unquote easy, that there are definitely some other people that have a lot left in the tank. And then things start to fall apart. We're in this tunnel and you'll see there's a guy in orange that just rolls off the top again. I don't know if it's Newman or another guy. I can't really see, but things go from chill to just totally strung out on this little mini bump here. And I'm like, oh no, the race is breaking apart. I don't know if there are attacks or if it's just they've amped up the level. And I wasn't aware, but I can see just tons of riders too far away from me there. And I'm like, okay, what am I going to do? So I start ramping up the power, and I'm doing some decent watts there. We're doing 6-7 watts per kilo on this little bump, and I start picking up some riders. So I feel good about that. But it's all happening so fast. So I just dropped the drafting boost to pick up these guys and try and get back in contact because I feel really good, guys. And so I go for it, and I get up to this guy. I'm in second place, so I know that this is the last guy up front. But I'm really not sure what I'm going to do when I get to him, and if we're going to be able to hold off the bunch, which is aiming for a sprint, I assume. And so I get up to him, and I kind of lay off a little bit. I think I really messed this up, though, guys. I think I could have kept going. If I had just kept it at 400 watts, I might have rolled away. You can see that there are 3 riders with me. So I throw a little elbow, which never works. I don't know if people don't see it or people just really don't want to roll with me, but we're like 3 or 4 riders. There's a gap. You can see it on the mini map. And I was just hoping that somebody would roll through at like 400 watts or something like that, just to keep the pace high enough that we can be competitive with the big group. So this guy throws the arrow, but I'm unable to follow, and turns out he's doing 8 watts per kilo. So he had no intention of sticking with us. He's just going for it. So I ramp it back up again, hoping to catch him. Oh yeah, it's our boy Seb, who I'm unable to get back in contact with. And so then I wind up in no man's land. We're 500 meters from the finish, and I'm exhausted. My heart rate's already way too high. And I realize visually on the map here that we're rounding into the sprint. And I'm like, oh my God. So I've just completely messed up my entire race. But time to sprint, I guess. And so I don't even get a real sprint in. I throw down what I have. We're like 750, but I'm not going to be able to hold that for 20 seconds or whatnot. So yeah, I think in average, I wound up doing about 600 watts or 550, which is just really poor for a race where I had a lot of energy and I felt really good. And so yeah, I wind up with an 11th place. That 12th place turns into 11th place. And I'm pretty frustrated with myself, as you can see there. I think I should have stuck with the attack. I should have tried to get to hours and just keep going. But it all happened so fast.
Oh, I'm so frustrated. Oh, I could have had that.
And so yeah, I'm still wondering. You guys let me know down in the comments, but I'm still wondering if I should have just like never concerned myself with these attacks from hours and the guys up front that were stringing it out, and just stuck with the peloton the entire time, and prayed that they got caught and then and saved my energy for a good sprint, or if I should have just emptied the tank from about 1 kilometer or 2 when hours was up front, and given it my best shot. Anyway, the Zwift racing score went up. I'm at a 530 now. Pretty happy about that. Obviously, it was a good workout, and I gave it everything I had, and I learned a bunch of stuff. Specifically, those pinch climbs at higher percentages. I'm going to start hitting those before I get on the climb, so I'm ramping the watts up before. I don't know about the attacks though. I still got a lot to learn because this is the first race where I've actually seen attacks like this that felt like they could have stuck. But anyway, my drafting was good, and I wound up doing 3.7 watts per kilo average on the whole race, which is on the low end for me, especially considering that this was a more competitive field, and so I feel pretty good about that. And as always, let me know what you think. Ride on, everybody. Enjoy yourselves. Get in one of these races, and I'll catch you on the next one.